What if the United States won the World Cup? Not what if they make it out of the group stage. Not what if they reach the quarterfinals. What if they went all the way, lifted the trophy in front of a home crowd? Right now, the betting markets give the US about a 2.5% chance of making that happen. Long odds, but this is soccer, and weird things happen. So let's say it does. What actually changes? The answer is more interesting and more specific than you think. Before we go there, here's some important context. This video is a what if. Everything you're about to hear is speculation, but speculation built on real data. We're not guessing. We're following the evidence to its most likely destination. The US has never won the World Cup. Their best finish in the modern era was a quarterfinal run in 2002, a genuinely shocking result at the time. Before that, you have to go all the way back to 1930 to find anything better. So winning in 2026 on home soil would not just be a sports moment, it would be a before and after moment for an entire country's relationship with the sport. Here's what the data says would actually follow. Let's start with the most obvious question. Would Americans suddenly care about soccer? Here's what's already true. Right now, before a single trophy is lifted, soccer has already passed baseball. A recent survey by The Economist found that 10% of American sports fans call soccer their favorite sport. Baseball sits at 9%. That already happened. And among Americans aged 18 to 34, soccer is already competing directly with basketball. 23% of young adults are avid soccer watchers. The NBA is at 17%. A US World Cup win would pour gasoline on a fire that is already burning. Here's the analogy. Think about what happened in 1994, the last time the US hosted the World Cup. That single tournament was enough to create Major League Soccer from scratch. The league launched 2 years later with 10 teams. It now has 30, with franchise values averaging nearly $800 million. And here's a number most people don't know. MLS average attendance is already over 23,000 fans per game. The NBA averages 18,000. In terms of people actually showing up, soccer already wins that fight. In 2026, the starting point is completely different. The league already exists. The infrastructure is already there. The question is just how fast it grows. Now, would soccer catch the NFL? Probably not. The NFL has 36% of American sports fans calling it their favorite. That gap is enormous, and there's no historical precedent anywhere in the world for a sport closing that kind of distance quickly. But catching the NBA among young fans, that's not a prediction. That's a trend that's already underway. A US World Cup win would almost certainly accelerate it. Now, let's talk about what happens economically, because this is where things get genuinely concrete. The 2026 World Cup is already projected to add $17 billion to the US economy and create 185,000 jobs. That's just from hosting. That's before a single American trophy. A US win would change the media conversation permanently. Right now, following soccer in America requires up to 5 different streaming subscriptions. Peacock for the Premier League, ESPN Plus for others, Paramount Plus for the Champions League. That fragmentation exists because no single broadcaster has been willing to bet everything on soccer. A home World Cup win changes that calculation overnight. Suddenly, soccer is not a niche interest. It is a proven mass-market product. Broadcast rights prices go up. Sponsorship deals multiply. MLS's current media rights deal expires in 2029. Negotiations that follow a US World Cup win would look completely different than negotiations that don't. Here's what would probably not happen even if the US wins. Soccer would not instantly become simple. The rules would still confuse people, which conveniently is exactly why this channel exists. The 1994 World Cup is the best comparison we have. The US hosted, the US performed decently, and even after all of that excitement, growth was described by researchers as evolutionary, not revolutionary. It took years for MLS to find its footing. A 2026 win would compress that timeline, but it would not eliminate it. Sports culture doesn't change in a single weekend. The real shift would be generational. Think about it this way. A 10-year-old watching a US World Cup win in 2026 is 24 years old in 2040, buying tickets, picking leagues to follow, choosing which sport gets their Sunday. That is the fan the sport is actually playing for right now. So, what actually happens if the US wins the World Cup? Soccer, already third in American sports, accelerates its push toward the NBA among young fans. MLS franchise values, already near $800 million on average, climb further. Media rights negotiations change. A generation of kids picks up a soccer ball. None of that is guaranteed. The odds are long, but the data tells us the ingredients are already there. The tournament just decides how fast they combine. If you want to actually understand what's happening on the field when you watch, the rules, the calls, the moments that confuse everyone, hit subscribe. Every rule explained in 6 minutes.